Good day to you one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again. I'm tremendously excited because today I'm going to be talking about one of my favourite ever songs by one of my favourite ever bands, the 9 Inch Nails music band featuring Head Like a Hole from Pretty Hate Machine. It's awesome and it changed my life. Maybe it'll change yours too if you're not already aware of it. Justin Hawkins Rides Again. So according to my research, Head Like a Hole was released in 1990. I would have been 15 years old when it came out. It was produced by Flood and Adrian Sherwood. Weirdly, this is a strange coincidence, I actually did work with Flood before any of this crazy fame stuff happened. I did it for... I was being like a T-boy in the studio that Flood happened to be working in that week. He sent me out to get some sweets, Footlands, and that kind of stuff. It was when I was doing my BTEC national diploma in music technology. Yeah. Lovely man, from what I can remember, lovely man. Anyway, it was the second single from their debut album, Pretty Hate Machine. It is among the band's most famous songs and remains both a critical and fan favourite. But in the olden days, when I was sort of trying to figure out which band I should play in, there was some people around the Lowestoft area who were really into this emerging sort of subgenre of rock that was called industrial. I suppose is it a subgenre of rock or is it a subgenre of metal? I'm not really sure. And it seemed to me that right at the forefront of that was 9 Inch Nails doing stuff that was popular and crossing over. I mean, obviously there's stuff like Young Gods, which I think is a Swiss band, weirdly. And The Ministry. Who else was around then? Revolting Cocks, brilliantly named. Anyway, I just felt like 9 Inch Nails were the ones that had those kind of enormo hits that were going to cross over and make industrial into a force to be reckoned with. And I absolutely loved that first record. It completely engulfed me. I mean, I'm a guitar player, but I was just fascinated by it. I thought the songs were the kind of songs that were great, however you arranged them. Like even if you like just as an example, I'll just do a little bit of Head Like a Hole. So like bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. You see, that could be a Gregorian monkey thing, couldn't it? Not monkey, monk. No. It has been classified as an industrial rock and electronic rock song and recognised as an industrial dance anthem. The tempo is 115 BPM and is played in the key of E minor, one of my favourite keys. It was also rewritten as On a Roll, performed by Miley Cyrus in the character Ashley O for Black Mirror. So it's one of those songs that's so versatile it can also be made into really asinine sort of pop music with a few lyrical changes. I think Trent Reznor has always been slightly uncompromising in the way he approaches the lyrics. In fact, one of my mum's sort of fondest and most favourite things to look back on is how worried she was when I was listening to The Downward Spiral, and there was a song talking about how Trent Reznor would indeed like to fuck me like an animal. And my mum was a little bit concerned by that, but in the end, now she just laughs at those times because 9 Inch Nails has been around long enough and written enough brilliant songs for us all to understand that this is just a real songwriter that sings from the heart, and sometimes there's darkness in there, and he's just going to express it in the only way he knows how, really loudly, industrial-wise. There's a great EP. There's 2 EPs that came out between Pretty Hate Machine and The Downward Spiral, and they were called the Broken and Fixed EPs. And the Broken one sounds a lot like what happened on The Downward Spiral. It's kind of like a much more sort of saturated, nasty, digital, guitar-y version of Industrial, but much less dancey than Pretty Hate Machine. And then there was the fixed EP, which was way more dancey. So, you know, they sort of rearranged those songs and remixed them in the dance style. But there's a couple of moments where it felt like Trent Reznor was looking at the format of the compact disc and just trying to see how much volume he could get out of it. I've never, ever heard a louder recording on a CD. It must have been normalized to 0, completely sweetened and compressed to within an inch of its life, and it's completely hitting you in the face. It was really, really exciting. Like, this guy was challenging, you know, in studio terms. He was just pushing the boundaries in terms of volume, just to see what he can get out of a CD. And it was amazing. There was like nearly 100 empty tracks before you got to these songs that were super loud at the end of the Broken EP. You can't do that in this day and age with with streaming platforms being the main kind of way to consume music. You just can't have hidden tracks on a compact disc in an age of decreasing record sales. Who's going to manufacture that for you? But Nine Inch Nails did it, and they did it in such an impressive way. They're really great. I've seen them a couple of times live as well. We'll talk about that later. Nine Inch Nails info. They were formed in 1988. Trent Reznor was the only permanent member of the band until his frequent collaborator Atticus Ross joined in 2016. When touring, Reznor typically assembles a live band to perform with him under the Nine Inch Nails name. Nine Inch Nails' earliest influence was the punk rock band The Clash. Yeah, you can hear that. It's a slightly more melodic, because I always thought like Joe Strummer and The Clash, they were definitely, within the sort of punk realm, they were definitely the most pub rock of the punkers. And I say that with complete affection because, you know, the songs that they played were infinitely coverable and have withstood the test of time. Whether you play them as punk songs or pub rock songs or whatever you do, they're definitely like... It's a versatile oeuvre that they assembled, and I think Nine Inch Nails is the same. Another large influence on the band's sound is Gary Newman. Reznor once said that after hearing Cars, I knew I wanted to make music with synthesizers. Yeah, Gary Newman is a legend, isn't he? Okay, let's have a little watch. It's been a while since I've seen this video, actually.
Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve.
So this is all in the, not just G minor, it's the pentatonic, isn't it? I mean, it could be. You could do that as a blues rock thing. This is what I'm talking about. It's versatile songwriting. It's so good. Okay, I think this is the single edit. So apart from the F at the very beginning, it is pentatonic. Ah. Oh, is it major? Yeah, I think it's got a bit of major and some seventh stuff in there, that is what makes it sound more Carsy, like a bit more Gary Newman-esque. Actually, there's sort of weird, out of place, sharp moments. Yeah, that's major. Listen to that voice. It's primal, and it's really shredding. Like, he's basically screaming, but he's doing it in tune. This is in the days before Melodyne, and I don't know how you would actually tune that, because I think that when you look at the way a Trent Reznor vocal looks when he's singing in that capacity, it's such a shredded image. I don't even know how Melodyne or Antares Auto-Tune would be able to snap that to a find the tonality of it and do that. In those days, the programs weren't as advanced, and this is just a real vocalist singing perfectly in tune with everything he's got. It's really exciting. And dreadlocks as well. Actually, I used to wear dreadlocks. It's because I love Nine Inch Nails so much. This can never be impartial. I just adore this band. Yeah.
God, money's not looking for the cure. God, money's not concerned about the sick among the pure.
It's not clear whether he's singing the minor or the major. Because he sort of bends up from it in the way that a great blues singer would.
Money's not one to choose. No, you can't take it.
I love the way his voice sort of accidentally shreds in places as well. It's awesome. I mean, he's obviously got complete control over it, but there's a lot of tonal variety in the way Trent Reznor uses his larynx.
You can't take it. No, you can't take that away from me.
That way, when it cracks up on way. Oh, God. It sounds painful in the right way. It's just brilliant to see all this, the imagery as well. It really is. I mean, it really does look like a science fiction movie from that era, and I always think that science fiction tells you the most about the era that it comes from, you know, out of all the genres of film, because it's the one that sort of talks about the aspirations and, you know, what their perception of a dystopian future looks like, especially in this instance. He's doing that thing. I often do that when I need to get more out of my vocal. Two hands gripping the microphone for dear life, properly roaring. And he did that every night. Does that every night. Is he getting like tangled up in what looks like some discarded guitar cables? Because that nearly happened to me in a lot of gigs until I really sorted myself out and got a good guitar tech. These are the pitfalls of playing a smaller club show, you know. Listen to that the sort of repetitive ad-lib. This is also serving to muddy the waters of people who are trying to figure out what the key is. A lot of that riff seems to be in the pentatonic sort of E minor scale. But I put it to you that he's singing, which would make it a major key, wouldn't it? With a minor seventh, which I always think is a very Gary Newman thing. I hadn't really noticed that before, but I feel like that's what gives it that sort of quirky, hard to place otherworldliness of the song itself, just on a basic notes level. This is what I mean about the sort of sci-fi imagery. It looks like an ancient sort of death mask with a couple of tubes coming out the back, which is probably to cool whatever machinations are in there. It's sort of sending jets of cold air in, it looks like. Or maybe some cables are just running in. I don't know. But there'll be aliens at the back of it somewhere, I'm sure. Okay, let's have a look and see if the Miley version has the same sort of quirky minor and major running simultaneously vibe to it. No, I think in the Miley one they've committed to it being in minor, a minor key, and they've moved it, transposed it to G actually.
Oh, honey, let's get in through the door. Oh, honey, nothing sun who sees us ripping. they just can't lose.
Yeah, I think that's the main difference between those two versions. I think when Trent Reznor did it, it was in E minor with some weird sort of melodic stuff happening in the riff that was playing this G sharp and clouding it and just making it sound super quirky and Gary Newman-esque. And he's even doing a bit of that with his vocal as well, but it was mostly in E minor. But he was playing with the major thing just to make little bits stick out, I think. So when this Miley Ashley O version from Black Mirror is transposed up 3 semitones, which you'd expect because obviously Miley's range isn't the same as Trent's. Hers operates a little bit higher, I think. And I'd even say maybe a little bit too comfortably there. Everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Miley's voice. I like it when she pushes it a bit harder though, than perhaps a little bit higher. And it seems like the Ashley O version operates in that scale really. It's all in the sort of G minor pentatonic. It doesn't really stray too much in the bend stuff because I think that kind of pop production doesn't really allow you to have that kind of quirkiness. Everything's gridded and has to be sung with that sort of precision, which obviously Miley's more than capable of. But it just sort of takes a little bit of the quirkiness out of the original, I think. But that is actually the point. It's supposed to sound like for the purposes of the Black Mirror usage, I think it's supposed to sound like a generic homogenized sort of pop thing. But those of us in the know realise that it's a modified Nine Inch Nails song, which is anything but generic homogenized pop. It's the anti-generic homogenized pop. That's easy for you to say. Right. Anyway, I love it. The whole album's amazing. So listen to Pretty Hate Machine. Do yourself a favour. I think that's pretty much top to bottom bangers. And I'd also say the same thing about Downward Spiral. Strongly recommend the Broken EP and subsequently the Fixed EP. More so the Broken one though, if you're into guitars and stuff. It's great stuff, it really is. Justin Hawkins writes again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, watch one of these 2 videos and do yourself a favour. Listen to Nine Inch Nails. Cheers.